Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to MyPillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. MyPillow.com. Promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Welcome in to today's show. Here's what we're going to be talking about. Surprise, surprise, the Walt Disney Company announced yesterday that ABC's Jimmy Kimmel Live is going to be returning tonight, Tuesday night, after the brief suspension. Should we be surprised that this woke company has bowed to the threats of the left, or have they? Turning Point USA is encouraging ABC affiliates to not continue carrying Jimmy Kimmel when he returns tonight, and some have taken him up on that. And Turning Point USA announced a star-studded lineup of campus speaking dates after Charlie Kirk's assassination, with guest hosts including Megyn Kelly, Vivek Ramaswamy, Tucker Carlson, Glenn Beck, and many others. We have the whole schedule for you. And as Forrest Gump would say, stupid is as stupid does. You would think that people have learned by now that you can't say certain things and keep your job. But another barista at Starbucks was fired after writing a nasty message on a customer's order who ordered the Charlie Kirk special. That and much more in today's show.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
So here we are. ABC says that Jimmy Kimmel Live is coming back tonight, Tuesday night, just days after being yanked off the air. Why? Because of the fallout, because of Jimmy Kimmel's remarks about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. You'll remember Kimmel went on air, accused conservatives of, and I'll quote, desperately trying to characterize Charlie's suspected killer as anything but one of their own. He flat out implied the shooter was part of MAGA. This after the FBI and Utah's governor had already said the opposite, that the suspect was steeped in left-wing ideology, that he had taken a turn for the worse after developing a relationship with a trans man or woman, or what is it? A young boy who is a male who wants to be a female. What is that? Trans woman, trans man. I don't know. I get so confused about what's what. He's a male, though. That reckless swipe by Jimmy Kimmel was just too much, even for Disney. So affiliate stations started pulling the plug. FCC Chairman Brendan Carr said Kimmel's conduct was some of the sickest he had ever seen and hinted at possible FCC action as well. They didn't do anything, though. By Wednesday of last week, Disney decided that he wasn't going to be allowed back on air until things cooled down. Here's the kicker. Kimmel refused to apologize. He has not apologized, and according to some insiders, will not apologize. In fact, reports say that he planned to double down in the last week's monologue had Disney not pulled him. Disney's top executives, Bob Iger and Dana Walden, shut him down, worried that he had poured gasoline on the fire. And yet, over the weekend, you had protests out in California, not against Kimmel, but for Kimmel, in support of him. Hundreds of demonstrators chanting outside Disney's Burbank headquarters and his Hollywood studio, demanding that his show be reinstated. The left framed it as a free speech fight. Looking at some of the video of this, I bet some of those people never even watched Jimmy Kimmel. Meanwhile, conservatives, still mourning the death of Charlie Kirk, saw it differently. To conservatives, Mr. Kimmel's comments weren't just tone deaf, they were malicious, exploiting a political assassination to smear millions of Americans. Now, ABC says, they've had a thoughtful conversation. They thought about things over the weekend. And they talked with Jimmy, and that the show will return tonight. Now, let's be honest here. This isn't about a thoughtful conversation. It's about ratings. It's about advertising dollars. It's about making a profit. I get that. And a network terrified of alienating one half of its audience while trying to pacify the other. They're trying to walk the line here. At the heart of it is a very simple question. What are the limits of free speech on network TV? We let late-night comedians swing hard. They have a lot of freedom. But when their jokes turn into partisan smears about a man who was murdered in cold blood, is that just comedy? Or is that crossing the line? Maybe the bigger point is the double standard here. If a conservative host had mocked the death of a liberal activist, do you think for 1 second Disney and ABC would be talking about a thoughtful conversation and putting he or she back on the air? Or would they be cleaning out his office for good? Well, we'll see where this leads. Meanwhile, Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA is urging ABC TV affiliates not to carry Jimmy Kimmel tonight when he returns. Andrew Colvett, the organization's spokesman, executive producer of Charlie Kirk's podcast and radio show, slammed the network and parent company for caving and allowing the embattled late-night host to come back. Kimmel Show does not deserve to be on the air. Colvett tweeted minutes after the network revealed that Kimmel would be returning tonight, Disney and ABC caving and allowing Kimmel back on the air is not surprising, but it's their mistake to make. Nexstar and Sinclair do not have to make the same choice, he said. Now, he's, of course, referencing two very large companies, broadcast companies, who are affiliates of ABC. They were the first to pull Jimmy Kimmel, Nexstar especially. They have hundreds of TV stations. Sinclair, a pretty good sizable company too. I think they have about 40 stations. More information on that in just a minute because they spoke out yesterday too. This involuntary hiatus for Kimmel, of course, came after FCC Chair Brendan Carr floated the idea of taking federal action against the network over his comments. Didn't materialize, but it could have. The Kimmel comeback, of course, comes as celebs, including his fellow late-night host and lefty polls, blasted ABC for benching the comedian. California Governor Gavin Newsom cheered the decision of having him come back. He wrote on X, "Thank you to everyone at Brendan Carr FFC. This is a win for free speech everywhere." That was obviously a tongue-in-cheek to Brendan Carr. But a slew of conservative commentators have slammed ABC's call to welcome Kimmel back. Editor-in-chief of the Federalist, Molly Hemingway, "Disney loathes you." Ann Coulter wrote, "ABC execs prove they are not cowards by caving in 10 seconds to left-wing pressure." Former Fox News host Megyn Kelly mocked the brief suspension by tweeting, "Must be nice to be a leftist." And then on X, Megyn Kelly wrote, "Cancellation lasts 5 nights and you're back under the Klieg lights. On the right, you're underground." And she's right. There is a huge double standard here. But one of those companies is saying, not so fast. After the big announcement by Disney, Sinclair Broadcast Group announced yesterday afternoon that it would continue to preempt ABC's Jimmy Kimmel Live when it returns to the air tonight. The company statement read, "Beginning Tuesday night, Sinclair will be preempting Jimmy Kimmel Live across our ABC affiliate stations and replacing it with news programming. Discussions with ABC are ongoing, and we will evaluate the show's potential return at a later date. Sinclair operates 30 ABC affiliates, according to their statement. They previously had joined Nexstar, who had preempted Kimmel's show last week after he made the controversial comments. The Sinclair Vice Chairman Jason Smith said in a statement, Mr. Kimmel's remarks were inappropriate and deeply insensitive at a critical moment for our country. At the time, Sinclair said that it would not lift its suspension until after discussions with ABC. We'll see where those discussions lead. That quiet conversation or thoughtful conversation, I guess, that ABC said they'd been having with Kimmel. Should Jimmy Kimmel be allowed back on the air? Text me, email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Let's be honest, those summer vacations and backyard barbecues added some extra pounds, right? But instead of feeling guilty or falling further behind, it's time to reset, drop the weight, and get back in control. The solution isn't a shot. Real lasting weight loss starts with your mind, not your mouth. At PhD Weight Loss, Dr. Ashley Lucas and her team help you uncover the real reasons behind your weight gain so that you can reprogram the way you think about food forever. PhD clients lose up to a third of their body weight without ever taking a drug. I know because I lost 33 pounds with PhD weight loss. Through real food, behavioral coaching, and proven science, your body can become a natural fat-burning machine. Why risk spending thousands on shots that strip away muscle, come with dangerous side effects, and leave most people regaining 60% of the weight within a year? With PhD, you'll activate your body's natural appetite control, burn fat safely, and stay in control. Even if you're already on Ozempic, PhD can help you transition off while still losing weight. Take the first step today. Call 864-644-1900 or visit myphdweightloss.com. As we continue to mourn Charlie Kirk, and what a beautiful memorial service on Sunday. Now it's getting back to work. And Turning Point USA is just a huge organization. And if they're going to survive Charlie, which I suspect they will, they got to get back to work. They got to get back to their schedule. And they announced yesterday just a huge star-studded lineup of speakers that will continue Charlie's college speaking tour following his assassination, which is fulfilling the pledge of his widow, Erica Kirk, saying that they will continue. He, of course, assassinated September the 10th at the campus of Utah Valley University. And he was on the inaugural leg of his America Comeback Tour, which has been rebranded the Turning Point Tour in his honor. The new tour kicked off last night at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities, where conservative commentator, author, and podcast host Michael Knowles, a close friend and a frequent collaborator of Charlie Kirk's, filled in. I watched parts of it, and it was just a special evening as they recognized that the work must go on. They announced the whole lineup, or actually a partial lineup. There's still some dates that they haven't said who will be speaking. But tomorrow night, Wednesday, Megyn Kelly and Republican Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin will bring the tour to Virginia Tech. And then on September 30th, back to Utah State this time, with Alex Clark, Senator Mike Lee, Governor Spencer Cox, Representative Andy Biggs, and the Honorable Jason Chaffetz will be the speakers there. October the 7th at Montana State, Vivek Ramaswamy with Governor Greg Gianforte. October the 9th, University of North Dakota, Glenn Beck. October 16th, University of Oklahoma, the speaker to be announced. Then October 21st, Indiana University at Bloomington with Tucker Carlson. Louisiana State University follows on October 27th with Allie, Beth, Stuckey, and Governor Jeff Landry. Ole Miss on the 29th, speaker to be announced. Auburn University, November the 5th, speaker to be announced. And November the 10th, UC Berkeley with Rob Schneider and Frank Turek. Turning Point says that there'll be additional stops and dates announced later. But this is a great start for this group of young people to say, we're still mourning. No one will ever replace Charlie Kirk, but we're going to keep the work going. This is what he wanted us to do, and we're not even going to wait. We're not going to delay. We're going to get started right away and continue the dates that we already had on the books. Now, we've seen a lot happen in these last not quite 2 weeks. As we were talking about in last segment, Jimmy Kimmel being pulled off the air. We've seen people from doctors and lawyers and school teachers, professors lose their jobs. People just don't seem to learn, do they? Another example, an Ohio woman ordered a Charlie Kirk special at a Starbucks and was startled to find a hateful message written on the cup when she picked it up. Autumn Perkins is her name. She lives in Middletown, Ohio. She visited a Starbucks location inside of a Kroger that was run by Kroger and ordered the Mint Majesty with 2 honeys. Evidently, this was the preferred Starbucks drink that Charlie Kirk had. A lot of people have been ordering them all around the country. She ordered it, and she got her order back, and written on the side of the cup was racist fave drink. This barista was calling Charlie Kirk a racist. Ms. Perkins told Fox News, it's time for people to stop this nonsense. She reported this to the manager. After speaking to the manager, Ms. Perkins learned that the employee admitted to writing the hateful message and was subsequently fired. Perkins said, I would agree that people should be fired if they're doing something like this. Actions have repercussions. I feel like Charlie stood for respect. We don't have to agree on everything. We can disagree on a lot of things, but we must respect each other, she said. In a comment to Fox News, a spokesperson for Starbucks provided a statement saying, writing this on a cup is unacceptable, and we have clear policies that prohibit negative messages to help preserve a welcoming environment. This Starbucks location is licensed and operated by Kroger. We understand that this associate was terminated by Kroger. Kroger later confirmed the firing in an email, saying this behavior does not reflect Kroger's values. Ms. Perkins added that she often visits Starbucks when traveling because it's readily available, but said that was her last visit. She will not be doing so in the future. She said, I don't intend to spend another penny at Starbucks, and as far as I'm concerned, neither will my children or anybody else in my family who will listen to me. Well, Ms. Perkins, we're all listening, and we agree. This type of company does not deserve our support. President Donald Trump signed an executive order yesterday designating the shadowy left-wing group Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization. Now, he's been saying for a few days now that he was going to sign this. He's actually been talking about this for a few months. I think the assassination of Charlie Kirk probably has pushed him over the edge. In the order, the president wrote, I hereby designate Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization. All relevant executive departments and agencies shall utilize all applicable authorities to investigate, disrupt, and dismantle any and all illegal operations, especially those involving terrorist actions that were conducted by Antifa or any person claiming to act on behalf of Antifa, or for which Antifa or any person claiming to act on behalf of Antifa provides material support, including necessary investigatory and prosecutorial actions against those who fund such operations. The president cited Antifa's pattern of political violence designed to suppress lawful political activity and obstruct the rule of law in making this designation. Now, we'll see. We'll see how law enforcement enforces this, and if this leads to disruption of some of these very hateful groups, as it should. I hope that state and local authorities will take heed to the president's designation and will put these groups out of business. There's no place for them. There's no place for these types of groups to operate in our United States of America. On the text line, Jennifer says, wow. The wow factor was high watching the Charlie Kirk memorial service, especially when Erica Kirk said, I forgive him. I was on the edge of my seat. The experience was almost like a throwback in time. It was not all that long ago that America looked and acted like what we witnessed today. It was familiar, like some kind of reunion, and for a little over 5 hours, we felt safe. You know, Jennifer, that's a good point. We did feel safe, didn't we? We had millions of people watch either on one of the networks or watch one of the streaming services of this 5-hour service on Sunday to honor my colleague, Charlie Kirk. Faye says, Joey, what a beautiful service for Charlie. Was truly a big revival. Charlie died trying to bring Christ to our country and the world. Amen. And you're right. You're right, Faye. Keep those text messages coming. You can email me as well, Joey at joeyhudson.com. A man was arrested on a federal criminal charge in Washington, D.C. after he allegedly aimed a red laser pointer at Marine One as it flew overhead, carrying President Donald Trump at the top. Jacob Samuel Winkler has been charged with aiming the beam of a laser pointer at an aircraft, a felony that carries a maximum sentence of 5 years in prison, according to the Associated Press. Secret Service Officer Diego Santiago was on patrol Saturday near the White House as he was securing the perimeter as the presidential helicopter's flight path, and the helicopter was en route to the White House. He spotted Winkler, who was shirtless and talking to himself loudly, according to a criminal complaint obtained by the media. Now, when the officer shined a flashlight to get a closer look, Winkler aimed a laser at Santiago's face, briefly disorienting him. Winkler allegedly proceeded to point the beam towards a low-flying Marine One, which was departing the White House and carrying the president, according to the complaint. So I guess it was departing. I said a minute ago as it approached. I guess Marine One was leaving the White House. In the criminal complaint, it said upon approach, Winkler looked up, oriented the same red laser pointed at the direction of Marine One, and activated the red laser beam. This was considered to pose a danger to both Marine One and everyone aboard the helicopter. It presented a risk of flash blindness and pilot disorientation and put Marine One at greater risk of a collision, the criminal complaint noted. Winkler was promptly restrained in handcuffs and allegedly proceeded to make statements, including, I should apologize to Donald Trump, and I apologize to Donald Trump. Investigators seized the red laser pointer from Winkler as evidence, along with a fixed-blade knife measuring about 3 inches. He later waived his Miranda rights and claimed he did not know it was illegal to point the laser at Marine One. As noted in the complaint, he said he points the laser at all kinds of things, such as at stop signs. Look, you shouldn't be pointing a laser at anybody or anything. There's a place that you can use a laser in work, like in measuring and surveying, laying out the footings for a house, for example, or a building, but you shouldn't be pointing it at people. Now, yesterday I told you that the president had teased a major announcement for yesterday. Well, he did. President Trump, I guess you could say, kind of waded into a very sensitive health debate that's going on in the country, and he did it in classic Trump fashion. He's very blunt, very direct, and it sparked a controversy. So what did he say? What did he do? Well, here we go. He was speaking from the Roosevelt Room in the White House yesterday when President Trump told pregnant women just flat out, don't take Tylenol. Tylenol, of course, a painkiller. It's a go-to painkiller for many that half of all expectant moms have used at some point probably, and the drug that's been marketed for decades as the safe choice in pregnancy. Trump said studies are showing a link between Tylenol and other off-brands used during pregnancy and autism in children. He told reporters, with Tylenol, don't take it. Don't take it. Ideally, you don't take it at all, but if you have to, if you can't tough it out, if there's a problem, you're going to end up doing it. He carved out one exception, a high fever that could endanger the mom and baby. Now, here's where it gets a little bit complicated. The medical establishment, The American College of OB-GYNs, pediatricians, you name it, has long said that Tylenol is safe. They prescribed it for generations. But the Trump administration is pointing to new research, primarily from Mount Sinai, Harvard, and Johns Hopkins, that says otherwise. It contradicts this long-time belief that it was safe. Studies have shown consistent associations between Tylenol and other off-brands, that the use in pregnancy and leads to higher autism rates in children. The Nurses' Health Study even looked at 9,000 kids and came to the same conclusion that there is a correlation between the use of Tylenol and autism. This was an explosive announcement for the medical community and for the big farm. Because pharma's not going to sit back on this one. They make a lot of money selling Tylenol and other brands. And it's not just Trump saying it, though. And that's what you need to understand. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is backing him up and seems to have led the charge. Kennedy is also recommending another type of supplement for children already showing signs of autism, citing some studies that suggest it can improve speech in kids with neurological issues. It's a folate supplement. The FDA, under Trump's direction, is now preparing to change the warning label on every bottle of Tylenol to reflect this risk and send doctors letters telling them not to recommend Tylenol to pregnant women or children, effective immediately. Of course, again, Big Pharma, they're not happy campers, and they're not going to take it lying down. Kenvue, the maker of Tylenol, put out a statement pushing back hard. They said, and here's their quote, "There's no credible evidence linking Tylenol to autism. Over a decade of rigorous research confirms it is safe." And of course, they accuse the Trump and his administration of fear-mongering. But President Trump framed it as part of a much bigger mission, finding the causes behind the surge in autism. And we've seen that. We've seen the numbers. Rates have skyrocketed up 400% since 2000. Something is causing a 400% increase in autism. What is it? According to President Trump and RFK Jr., it's Tylenol. I don't know, but I got to trust them. The stats show that 1 in 31 American kids today is on the autism spectrum. He called it one of the most alarming public health developments in history, and it is. I mean, these are scary numbers. The National Institutes of Health also announced a new autism data science initiative, a $50 million project to pull together massive data sets on everything from genetics to pollutants to diet to try and figure out what's driving this epidemic. And it is an epidemic with numbers like this. President Trump, meanwhile, also talked about vaccines. It's another landmine issue. He urged parents to spread out the vaccines on the federal schedule, not give them all at once. He specifically said hepatitis B shots shouldn't be given until age 12. And he pointed to the Amish population, which uses fewer vaccines and painkillers, as having lower rates of autism and other chronic diseases. Now, let's be clear here. HHS itself added a caveat. Their statement said an association has been described in many studies, but a causal relationship has not been established. That's government speak for, we're not ready to declare Tylenol causes autism. Still, the FDA is changing the label, which means the Trump White House is betting big on this link being real. So what does this mean? If you're an expectant mother, this could completely upend what your doctor tells you, and you just need to do your own investigation. You need to do your own reading and research. If you're a drug manufacturer, it's a nightmare. Tylenol has been a household name for 70 years. Politically, it's President Trump doing what he does, defying the medical establishment, siding with parents, and putting pressure on Big Pharma to come up with some answers. And here's the bottom line. Trump just made Tylenol a political issue. Expect the left to call this dangerous misinformation. Expect conservatives to say he's finally asking the questions that the medical establishment has refused to ask. Again, I think I'm going to go with Trump on this one. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. I received a news release from the Oconee County coroner. Carl Addis is the longtime coroner over in Oconee. I'm on the mailing list with a lot of other news organizations. Carl's a great guy. And this particular one kind of caught my attention because it was about the death of a 4-year-old child in Walhalla on Friday. As he often does, the coroner deferred additional information until a later date. We learned yesterday that a South Carolina Highway Patrol trooper was fired after law enforcement accused him of child abuse while caring for his stepchildren, boys ages 2 and 4. One of them died. And this is the 4-year-old that was referenced in the news release. Warrants allege the child was malnourished and weighed just 21 pounds at the time of his death. That's less than my 2 Cocker Spaniels, Jesse and Simon. I don't know how a 4-year-old could weigh just 21 pounds. 31-year-old Joshua Emmanuel Lamar Latimer, a highway patrol trooper since 2017, and 24-year-old Destiny Shea Dion were arrested September 19th and initially each charged with 2 counts of child neglect, according to state law enforcement officials. Jail records were updated yesterday afternoon to indicate that both were charged with homicide by child abuse. This is just wrong in so many ways. That this mother in a relationship with this guy would abuse her own children. There's no excuse for even the stepfather, but you can sometimes think about, well, a stepfather is really not his flesh and blood, and maybe you can see how this could happen easier than a blood parent could do this. The coroner has classified the 4-year-old's death as a homicide. They have not released the cause of death, although they did do an autopsy yesterday. According to Mr. Addis, emergency services responded to a reported child death around 6:40 a.m. Friday, September 19th in Walhalla. Warrants released September 22nd on the homicide count said the charges came under circumstances manifesting an extreme indifference to life. According to the report, the child's eyes were sunken in, ribs and other bones protruded, and neither adult sought medical care. How do you do that? In a statement, the South Carolina Department of Public Safety said Latimer was fired September 19th after the agency was informed of his arrest. Latimer was a Lance Corporal, was stationed in Troop 3, covering Anderson, Greenville, Oconee, Pickens, and Spartanburg counties. Child neglect is a felony punishable with up to 10 years in prison. The homicide count can carry at least 20 years in prison. I hope he stays in prison for the rest of his life. He should be starved to death just like he did these children. Wow. I don't know how you do that. Speaking of law enforcement and the highway patrol, nearly 2,400 South Carolina drivers received tickets last week for failing to slow down or move over for emergency vehicles parked on the side of the highway. This according to Department of Public Safety. Now, here's what happened. The agency did what they're calling a 5-day ticketing blitz. It was Monday through Friday of last week, after drivers struck 3 highway patrol troopers in the span of a month, killing one of those. Within hours of a news conference September 15th, where they announced the crackdown, a car hit a Berkeley County Sheriff's deputy on Interstate 26, leaving him with non-fatal injuries, thank goodness. The collisions came soon after the agency warned drivers to stay aware following several near misses captured on video. Now, here's what you need to understand, and I'm telling you this as a reminder. A state law, it's often referred to as the move-over law, requires you as a driver passing police, tow trucks, construction crews, other emergency-type vehicles parked on the side of the highway to significantly reduce the speed of your car and to switch lanes if possible. Now, highway patrol officers went out in pairs last week so that one could respond to whatever required the officer to pull off the highway and the other could pursue any drivers who did not get out of the way. This, according to Colonel Christopher Williamson, commander of the State Highway Patrol. Highway patrol officers gave out 1,766 tickets, which cost between $300 and $500, and 554 warnings during the 5-day Operation Keep Us Safe. The State Transport Police, which specializes in monitoring commercial vehicles, distributed 49 tickets. Local police and sheriff's departments that reported numbers to the state agency wrote the remaining 617 tickets, according to the South Carolina Department of Highways. The State Highway Patrol also issued 152 warnings to drivers violating the hands-free driving law, which went into effect September the 1st. Now, remember, the hands-free law just took effect. Until February, officers will only issue warnings to people caught holding their phones while driving. After that, you're going to get a fine. Although the official crackdown lasted only a week, Mr. Williamson warned last week that drivers should still expect to receive tickets for violating traffic law. So here's the bottom line. If you're driving down the road, and quite often, I know you just don't even think about it, but if you're driving down the road, let's say you're out on Interstate 85, and there is a highway patrol, there's a sheriff's deputy, there's a EMS, there's a tow truck, there's a construction worker on the side of the road, you need to get over into the other lane. If you can't get over into the other lane because of traffic, then you have to slow down. Now, in this news release, it says slow down significantly. That's kind of subjective. I don't know what significantly in their mind means. So to be safe, I would say slow down a lot so that they can see that you slowed down. This trooper who lost his life a few weeks ago, that should have never happened. A young man in the prime of his life, state trooper, out there working to protect our and to keep our roads safe, lost his life because somebody just wasn't paying attention. That should never happen. So, consider this a public service. Slow down if you see an emergency vehicle. Get over into the other lane if you possibly can. Now, you got to be safe too. So make sure and obviously and check those mirrors. And if you can't get over, then again, just slow down considerably because, folks, there's no reason any of you should be getting a $300 to $500 ticket for this. This is just common sense, and it's easy for you to protect yourself. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com. And I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at MyPillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.